This is Industrial Edge, a podcast where we discuss the cutting-edge world of factory automation and the technologies shaping the future of the industry.
I'm Lacey Chandler. I'm sitting here with Christine Gemperle. We're at the 2024 Almond Board Conference in Sacramento at the Safe Credit Union Conference Center. And it's the end of day 2. So I asked you to come and be a guest on this podcast because I find you to be a very interesting person. And you have a lot of experience in this industry and this ag space in general. So if you wouldn't mind taking just a minute to introduce yourself, tell us what you do.
My name's Christine Gemperle. Our business is Gemperle Orchards. I work for me and and my brother. We are actually pretty small farmers. We don't even have any employees. It's 135 acres. We do all the work ourselves, except for like something like crazy, like grinding up an orchard. Then we bring people in for that. But I've also become very involved in the industry as a whole, especially at the Almond Board. Like I do serve for Blue Diamond Growers on the board of directors as a representative for co-op farmers, which is mostly Blue Diamond. And I serve on the Nutritional Research Committee. I have a very strong background in research science. I actually got a master's in fisheries biology, which, yes, it sounds like it's completely separate from this, but the truth is research is research. Like the scientific process is the same across the board, right? Just understanding that. I also serve on the biomass committee with Ashley, who works for you. That's how we met, actually. And that's been an amazing journey. And that's something that you're probably going to be in that space in the future as we work through our biomass. And then the last thing, I work on the environmental stewardship committee as well, and that's a new one. I serve on some other boards with pollinator health as well, and farm advisor for various organizations.
That's it?
That's it.
I know you got more. What else?
Oh, I like to make soap and soup. I'm really like a big proponent of cooking and food. I love food. I love homemade food. I actually grow most of my own vegetables.
You mentioned that you farm your own acreage, but you didn't say what it is that you farm.
Oh, so we farm almonds 100%, 135 acres. That's, we specialize.
So you know a lot about almonds.
I do know a lot about almonds, and over the last 15 years being involved with the Almond Board, I've learned, I feel like I know the industry from top to bottom.
Well, also with your hands too, if you're working it.
Yeah, and my back.
Okay. Well, maybe your back hurts because you have so many tags on your badge. Tell me about all these tags.
Okay. Well, let's see. It says Almond Leadership Program, but I wasn't in it. Okay, so the Almond Board has the Almond Leadership Program where they're trying to develop the leaders of tomorrow in the industry. So I wasn't in the leadership program. I was a mentor in it because when they started the Young Leaders Program, I was already too old. So, and then CASP, fully self-assessed, is the California Almond Sustainability it used to be Sustainability Program. Now it's Stewardship Program. And that's where you go in and you fill out this survey where you say, like, I do these practices. And then it assesses where you are in this, sort of stewardship or sustainable world. And you can, apply that to, say, if you work for or grow for a handler and they have a sustainability program and they need data for a buyer or something like that. So that's what that's for. So yes, for many years now, I've been fully assessed. And then I was on the Almond Journey podcast, which is much like I'm doing here today with you. And the last one is the board of directors. I am on the board of directors.
For the Almond Board?
For the Almond Board, yeah. So for the last, let's see, I've been on it for 3 years now. And before that, I was, I think, alternate for about 3 years. And then I've been on maybe committees for 7 or 8 years. I know it's a lot. Just time. It's all volunteer time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, running your own operation.
Yeah.
Dealing with your brother.
He's awesome, by the way. My brother is seriously...
What's your brother's name?
Eric Gemperle. Yep. He's my younger brother by 6 years. I used to torture him when he was little.
My sister's 6 years younger. I
Yeah.
know you don't even need to explain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think you probably should.
Actually, it was really funny. We lived in a small
All these
house.
boards you're on, don't want to hear.
Yeah, well, we lived in a small house. It was only a 3-bedroom house, and we had an older sister. She was a little bit messy, and so Eric and I are like, we're gonna share a room. So I shared a room with my younger brother until I was like 17, until my sister moved out of the house.
Wow.
And so we always got along. He's like the easiest guy to get along with. And I think what it works so well is we have 100% respect for the other person and the work that they do. And we have very different skill sets. I break equipment. He fixes equipment, Actually, I'm not that bad, but he is pretty amazing with equipment. And, and I'm more the biology and he's more of the technical stuff. But the truth is, in the field, we work side by side, just very well together. We get the job done.
So since we are at the conference here, the Almond Board Conference, tell us, what is the Almond Board? What do they do?
Honestly, the almond industry would not be what it is without the Almond Board. So it's a federal marketing order, which means the U.S. Department of Agriculture oversees all of its activities and actually regulates it. Like, we're not allowed to advocate with politicians or anything like that. But it's like a governing body. So for like food safety, it sets standards. It's in charge of, every grower pays into it like 3 cents for every pound that they grow, and that 3 cents goes towards paying like production research, food quality safety research, all the nutrition research, and the marketing. And so in this way, all these growers throughout the state have this entity, this body of people that go out and help to market their almonds. I mean, as a grower, if I didn't have that, I would have no way of marketing my almonds. And even if you had a handler, Blue Diamond does as a very big handler and a co-op and being around for over 100 years. They can do a lot of that. But a lot of the small handlers, they don't have the capability to do that. And so the Almond Board is there to fill that need and to help them, sell in India, sell in Morocco, deal with, what are the barriers to getting into a new market. They are the ones that open up those doors.
You serve on the board because you want to make an impact in those areas?
I do. It's my whole thing about being on the board is the growers pay the assessment, and so the growers should have a say in what are the activities, like what's in the grower's best interest. So I'm there to represent. So I actually I'm there as a representative for co-op farmers, which is basically Blue Diamond. But in many ways, I feel like I represent just every grower that's out there, because what I want for me, I also want for them. I want them to have the best research so they know the best way to grow almonds and to be the most efficient and to have the best crops and to be able to fight the pests, and to get the best returns.
How do you see these growers getting the best returns? What are some factors in that?
A couple of things. Well, we've had a hard slog. Since 2018, the tariffs basically started us down this road of price declines. That was maybe the beginning of it. It may have been a lot that, around 2014 during the drought, we had these amazing prices and everybody's like, what? They're making so much money, and not really understanding like, oh, this is agriculture. It goes up and down. And for those of us that have been in it for a long time, we know that. But so many people, I believe, just like, wow, like this is a really profitable business. This is probably a really great investment. And so we had a lot of investment in the industry and a lot of new plantings. And of course, down the road, that creates a very big supply. And we thought we were prepared for it. But then we were hit with many things along the way, which was the tariffs starting in 2018. And then, of course, we had COVID. And then the supply chain issues with not being able to get product out of the country. And on top of that, in 2020, we had this perfect almond bloom. It was just, it couldn't have been more perfect. Super bloom with perfect weather and just this gigantic crop that we then couldn't get out of the country. And so we ended up with this backlog, and it just sort of created this, downward trend. And at the same time, the same issues with supply chain were actually making everything more expensive for us. So you had prices going down, expenses going up. And yeah, that's a perfect storm.
And so what factors can shift it into an upward spiral? What can improve it all?
One thing is actually really communicating to the consumer the value that almonds bring, nutritionally to their diet, but also environmentally. A lot of people think in terms of, what am I eating? What impact does it have on the world? We all of us, no matter where we live, have been some way impacted by crazy weather from climate change. I mean, you live in Santa Cruz. I saw what you guys went through. That was ugly and not normal, right?
You can say the same for a lot of people on the planet.
Yeah. And that's, that's just one little spot. We've been through big droughts, and we've got to start thinking about these things. And so maybe changing the way that we're doing, some of our practices. And the truth is, in agriculture, we have this ability to actually sequester carbon. And carbon is one of the things, like, in the environment, or in greenhouse gas emissions, it's one of the drivers of the climate change.
Can I ask you how you think about now and or in the future about the impact of robotic technology, AI coming in to factor into optimizing not just like what we're looking at here with industrial automation, but the world at large?
Yeah, one of the things I've thought about with automation and robotics and AI, this ability to actually perfect our imperfect crop. Because the truth is, going forward, it's going to be harder and harder to produce a perfect crop where just off the bat, you don't have any quality issues. But if we can actually bring in this technology to, super efficiently sort it. And so, like, at this end, it may not be so pretty. And at this end, it's beautiful.
You mean not just in the growing side of it?
No, in the processing.
In the processing.
In the processing. On the growing, actually, there are opportunities on the growing side. I mean, all the technology really does help with efficiency, especially when it comes to watering and even sometimes with pest management. But how much water we use, just really nailing it down. And probably, I'm assuming in the future, nutrient management maybe. So that, those are all areas. And when you become more efficient, those are all cost savings. That's your bottom line.
You talked a couple of moments about research.
Yeah.
Have you heard or read or absorbed any information from the Almond Board or otherwise about research on the processing side of the impact in getting growers to have a better return?
On the processing side, a good crop it just doesn't happen. There's a lot of effort that goes into it, and there's so many variables, and that can be very challenging for a grower. But if you have a really good processor and they have really good equipment, I think it can help mitigate some of the difficulties a grower can have in the field.
Interesting.
I look at it from this perspective. We want to get a perfect crop, right? But sometimes that's not easy. There are always surprises. Like this year, I did all these integrated pest management practices to get my navel orangeworm population down so I would have better quality. And I did that. Well, leaf-footed plant bug was just going crazy. So then I still had better quality than the year before, but now have a new pest I have to deal with.
It's always something.
And my thinking is and the last thing I want to do is go in and spray this broad spectrum spray that kills every good insect I have there, but at the same time, I know I'm going to get nailed on premiums because I have a certain percentage of, damaged nuts from the leaf-footed plant bug. I would like to actually, in theory, or just like this is an idea of mine, I would like my returns to reflect my good nuts, because if my nuts weren't damaged by this leaf-footed plant, that certain subset weren't damaged, the actual nuts themselves were beautiful, big, full-meated, crunchy, right? And they were like the highest quality nuts. And so before they got to my handler, had they been run through a sorter and all the yucky ones the ones with the brown spot been taken out, I probably would have had amazing quality. It just is sort of heartbreaking to think in order to get to that quality, I would have had to have sprayed a lot, and maybe some things I didn't want to spray or even be around, or would have maybe damaged beneficials in my orchard and brought on other problems. So I kind of want to change, and I don't know if this will ever happen, but I would love to change how we think of quality coming out of an orchard. And I think technology has a really big part in that.
Well said. I certainly will invite you back on the podcast because I feel like there's so much more I want to know about what you know. You have a lot of knowledge. But they are kicking us out of this building.
That is okay.
As we speak.
Right.
So big thank you so much for
You're welcome.
taking your time to
Thanks for
sit with
having
me for a minute
Lacey.
and being brave. And we'll talk soon.
Yeah.